Hi, Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is Friday, October 20th, 2023. Been a few weeks, but I decided kind of spontaneously this morning of let me see if I can fit in a video today. Uh, in a few weeks, I'm going to have some new releases, and I was thinking, well, I don't want to wait that long to do a video. Today's a good enough day. Let's see what I can put together. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome. As I've always said, there are so many Flosstube channels to watch these days, which is wonderful to see what this community is out there. So anytime you're giving to me in your Flosstube watching opportunities is greatly appreciated. I love I've spoken a lot about this community, and that's the word I just constantly use, and how there's so much sharing and giving. You all know the YouTube algorithms, the likes and the comments can really help anyone learn about somebody new. So thank you for being here. Let's just get this out of the way. Where am I? That's the sun coming in from the skylight that's up there. I've talked about this before, and how as the seasons change, just sort of the sun, and like there's a couple of months ago, I couldn't be doing a video at a certain time of day because the sun would be like right on top of me. It has now moved backwards, and you can see, maybe you can see, there are usually needlework projects that sit, it's a mess there. You can see something's laying down. And we're just about at the time of year where I need to take, what do I use? A pillowcase, a piece of fabric, and cover that up because the sun, especially as we get closer to winter, the sun will be directly on that. I suppose I could just take it off the wall. It's just easiest to cover it up. But it's an interesting thing. I don't know if anyone, you must, I shouldn't say you must. If you in your home have something, whether it's plants, whether it's things on the wall, where you're aware of how the sun changes as the seasons change. I suppose at different times in my life it hasn't been of any importance, but certainly where I'm living now, here and as well as downstairs, there's a sun issue that happens that I just have to be aware of where my needlework pieces are hanging. Those are the things I care about. So let me just jump right into the mail. I just got this yesterday, and I'm like, well, let me just start out. Woodlawn. Let me be clear. Woodlawn Needlework Show, which takes place in March. It is an annual needlework exhibition. If you are ever in the Washington, D.C. area in the month of March, go see it. It takes place in an old historic home called Woodlawn. Nellie Custis, her last name, a relation of George and Martha Washington. She was Martha's granddaughter, and she married George's nephew. They were not related by blood, so it's all good. So it's a home that's a few miles away from Mount Vernon, which is George and Marcia Washington's home. They were given this land. Obviously, it's a lot different than the late 1700s. But this house has stayed, in this little bubble. And Nellie was a needleworker. And there's a whole history behind it, but this year is the 61st annual Woodlawn Needlework Show. I learned about this when my first couple of years out of college, I was living in Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C., and I was stitching. I mean, at that point, I had just learned that there was a world beyond cross stitch, and actually that's related to what we'll talk about today. I don't remember exactly how, but I learned about this, but then I was moving. So the first year I wanted to enter something. I had things that I could share. So what I was thrilled to learn is that this was a show that accepted mail-in entries. Like there was a process to mail in and have it mailed back to you. It wasn't just like, shall I say, the typical local or county or state fair where somebody has to go drop the items off, somebody has to go pick them up. And it's just, they take this old house and they like hang things on the wall and they lean it against the furniture, and it's just amazing. I've talked about it before. It opened the weekend of Nashville this past year. So I remember talking about it during the live that we were doing. Anyway, card in the mail. I mean, it's more or less like a save the date kind of thing. And it always takes place the entire month of March. So they very clearly listed mail-in dates. Wow. They will even accept mail-ins as early as November. That wow. I mean, I would well, um anyway. So if this is something you're kind of in with what I was saying so far is intrigued, if you have the opportunity to go to it, go. If you're interested in entering, please do. I know this gets talked about especially during like county and state fair season. Always be willing to share. It's not just about, oh, my things aren't good enough, whatever that means. Um, if you're the competitive soul and you're like, I want to win ribbons, and then if I don't win a ribbon, that'll be a problem. I don't know how to argue with that. What I can say is, if we can all share our needlework out there, whatever it is, the smallest little whatever to the largest Christmas stocking or things or a long dog sampler that's been professionally framed or anything in between, do it, share, give this opportunity. So you will probably hear me talk more about this. The last couple of years, my issue is too strong a word. The problem that I've had in sending things to Woodlawn is that it's right at the same time as the Nashville Needlework Market. And so any of my items, obviously not my new designs, but even a recent design that I would want to send to the exhibit means I wouldn't be able to have it with me in Nashville. So it's like making that kind of decision. Last year didn't I send a little Biscornu? The blackwork Biscornu that I had, which wasn't a brand new design, and I was fine with sending that off. So there's my little plug to participate in sharing our needlework in the world. It is not just limited to cross stitch. It's a needlework show, which is the words I tend. If you've been here before, or if you're new, either way, you'll hear me use the word needlework more than cross stitch. I started stitching with cross stitch. That's what I knew was making X's, and then lots of worlds opened to me. And one of them, in all honesty, was going to the Woodlawn that first year when I was still living down there and seeing, wow, there's a whole lot of other things out there. So Woodlawn is one of the shows that I have sent needlework pieces to over the years, not every single year, but many years. The other is the ANG, American Needlepoint Guild, annual exhibit. They have a seminar which varies where it goes each year, and it's like a week-long thing, and there's classes, and it's a whole event. And from my perspective, it's an expensive event, and I don't know if I would ever be able to attend. There's also am I interested in the classes and things that are offered? But they have an exhibit. And again, they are willing to take mail-in entries. And I spoke about this last time because it had happened in August and I had just gotten the piece back, which was my exquisite lace piece, and I had gotten a ribbon. And I was talking out loud and realized something I had wished to include, so I wrote a note, make sure you do this next time. So the ribbon that I shared with you last time was this, and it was from Atlanta. And I talked about how one of the things that I just loved about the ANG exhibit, when their ribbons are won, they are handmade. I mean, there is a stitching. This part right here is stitched. They do this for all the first place and all the special awards, things like Judge's Choice and Best in Show and all of that. And they are often related to the location of the seminar. It changes every year. So like I said, it was in Atlanta this year. And what I got as a part of my first place ribbon was an Georgia peach. And so I mentioned how there's a magazine and how I took out an issue from last year. Now the exhibit last year was in Tucson. And so just to kind of quickly show you the variety of designs. Now, unfortunately, in this article, they're telling you what the designs, or some of them are. All right, no, I take that back. Ignore what I was about to say. So first place ribbons featured an abbreviated version of the Talavera pots appearing on the faculty name tags. This rose is this Princess Grace Award. This is this is the one I was reading before, and I was trying to figure out. I mean, it almost looked like it was a separate piece attached, like a Southwest shawl or something. I wanted to know what this was. This thing right here. That's clearly some sort of bird that is perhaps the state bird. An owl. I don't know the connection there. A rabbit. A flower that is probably like the state flower. There we got, of course, we've got some cactuses showing up here. There's a special Christmas award, and I think, don't quote me on this, I think the Christmas ribbon always has like a, what do you call these red flowers that come out at Christmas? You know what I'm talking about. And there's a Halloween award, so obviously a Halloween theme. So many of the ribbons are connected with the location of where the seminar is, and they're stitched by and designed usually by members of the local guild. And I love it when they do tell me who actually stitched this. So when I was talking about this, I was like, well, let me pull out a couple others for just to share as examples. And I've been very honored to have won a number of ribbons over the years. And when I took out my thing where I had them and I started looking through, and I'm like, oh, like the biggest one for me is that I could clearly remember one time that I won the Judge's Choice Award, which was just, I thought was very cool. Turns out I'd won it twice, and I had not remembered that other time. So like, for example, this was one from 2019 that took place in Texas. And so blue bonnets, the flowers there, big Texas star there. This was from, oh, no, wait, hold on. Sorry. I'm just trying to show a few in some sort of reasonable order. So this was from Carolinas, Myrtle Beach in 2015. And, a tree that, probably from that area. What is the other one that I picked up? Oh, this was the Judge's Choice one that I had forgotten about. And I saw, again, I knew the year, which I'll show you in a minute, of the one, and I was like, wait, there's two Judge's Choice. And this said, this was also from that one they just showed you from Myrtle Beach, and it's a starfish. I'm like, but what was it? Well, this was the one where the judge actually wrote on the back, "It is my great pleasure to award my Judge's Choice ribbon for the very fine adaptation Antioch mosaic with needle and thread," which is actually the piece that I was just talking about that needs to get covered up for the winter. It's that piece right there. Your work is excellent, congratulations, and so on. And this made me realize, I wish I had the names of the projects on the back of all of them. Only a couple do. So I'm going to leave my little thing out when I'm done with this video while I'm doing all the uploading. One of the things I want to do, and I don't know how much of having the magazines, but I know that I have access to them online. I'm pretty sure I can trace back, and I would like to write on the back of the ribbons the piece that I won them for. The one that I remembered clearly from the Judge's Choice that I do remember, is this the Judge's Choice? Oh no, this was a President's Choice, which the year that I won this was just, I was just so honored. The piece, it's silk gauze piece. Maybe in the next video I'll bring it up to show you, and it actually won 4 ribbons there, which I was just blown away. It was a first place in its category. It won a Judge's Choice. It was in Anaheim. So this is a wine country themed. I also won the President's Choice. So the president of A&G just basically says, I'm going to go pick my favorite. I think that's how it's done. So I was honored there. And then to me, the biggest honor was what was called Delegate's Choice. So A&G does a People's Choice, which is different than Delegate's Choice. People's Choice, the exhibit is open to the public. Anyone can come in and see it, maybe some random guests of the hotel, but also like needleworkers who maybe live in the area or whatever. So any member of the public can vote for their favorite, and the winner of that gets People's Choice. In addition, everyone who is an attendee, like the needleworkers themselves, get like a separate colored ballot, and that one is called the Delegate's Choice. They are delegates that they are attending. And so again, West Coast, on the water, the fin. What I'm saying there. To get that one meant the stitchers that were present appreciated and loved my work. Anyway, I just wanted to follow up with that. Again, I've been very honored to earn these ribbons. I want to honor the people who stitched them, who created them, and the creativity that has often been a part of them. And each year, there is usually some variation in the magazine of showing you the ribbons. And I look forward, especially someone who can't attend in person, I always look forward to seeing them. We're already 15 minutes in. How did I do that? All right, let me jump into some stuff. If you're new here, maybe you don't know, but maybe you need a reminder. I am, in addition to someone who stitches, I am also a designer. I design under Works by ABC. My initials really are ABC. That's where the name came from. You can find my things on Etsy and in stores as working through a distributor. And that I stitch all of my own models. That is where I am as a designer. I have not yet had a time where I've designed something and thought, all right, good to go. Let me hand it off to somebody with fabric and thread. It just, I don't know, maybe I'm putting too much emotional connection to my pieces. On a practical level, almost everything, when I, hit print to print out that chart to begin, almost always there's something that changes, minor or major. And so it's really hard to kind of picture being at that place as a designer to have model stitchers. Never say never. But as a part of that, I want to keep doing I have over the last, I'm now 6 years into Flosstube. But I don't have much that I can show on a Flosstube video of my current stitching. Because they're both, I have two basically big projects going on right now, which is very unusual for me to have two big projects going on. And they will be releases. One will be a Nashville release. One will be something earlier than that, I hope. And so it's like, well, what do I show you? Well, if you've been following me the last few episodes, I had this idea of, let me show you my needlework loves. I love cross stitch, clearly. I'm designing cross stitch. I'm stitching cross stitch all the time. But I'm not ever limited myself to cross stitch. Once I learned about the other worlds that were out there. So nowadays, like when I have, so basically I have two projects. One is downstairs where I sit in the evenings, watch television, whatever. This project that's literally right over here is almost done. It's actually a new sampler of mine. If you're not familiar with my work, I'm not really a sampler designer or reproducer. But I've had two very special ones. This will now be the third very special one. And I'm very much looking forward to bringing it to all of you. I've been doing a lot of research about it. And I'm almost done. Ooh, here's a question I wanted to ask. If you stitch samplers, how do I phrase this? I have purposely chosen that I'm going to wait and stitch her name as the last piece of this, just as a way to honor her. I don't know any other way to put it. And I wonder if that's like a typical sampler stitcher thing or not. I've never, other than the ones I've designed, I've never stitched any other samplers, but I know they're very popular, obviously. So I'm just kind of curious, if you stitch samplers, what your, if you've ever done anything like that. To me, again, special sampler, special story that goes with it. I'm going to leave her name as the last thing to stitch. So I have already gotten way off my little list here trying to organize. Needlework loves. So I had talked about black work for an episode. I talked about hardanger, canvas work, like counted canvas work, and last time was white work, which is a whole bunch of, it's a large category that is a lot of things. And I said, well, I have a whole lot of other things, which are a lot of one-offs, small. And where I started thinking about this is that these are all things that I would love to do more of. I mean, doesn't every stitcher out there say, I need more time, I need to be stitching more things? Right now, these last few years has been very much focused on cross-stitch. Doesn't mean I haven't slipped in some other stuff, but very much focused on cross-stitch. But that doesn't mean any of the stuff I'm going to show you today is completely a one and done in my mind, because it's not. So let me start with needle painting or silk shading or various names for it. This book, Needle Painting, Embroidery, Fresh Ideas from Beginners, Trish Burr, is from quite some time ago. I was lucky enough to go to the Nordic Needle Retreat well before the store closed and all of that. And it was it was just a very cool, I went once, it was a very cool experience. And they had lots of classes. And they were like, 2-hour classes. It wasn't like a multi-day class thing, which is like when I was talking about the A&G stuff. And one of the things I had always been intrigued about was needle painting or silk shading or whatever you would call this kind of thing. And I knew it falls under the category of embroidery to me, in that you're not working on a piece of fabric that is counted, or that is, when you're doing things like this, you're not counting fabric threads. But like so many things, I was a little intimidated. People will say this a lot about heart anger. It feels too intimidating to cut things. This might be another one. How could I possibly make it look as nice as this? If you are interested in trying anything like this, these are 2 things that I got from this class. Number one, so this book came as part of our class kit. And what I saw was really detailed instructions. Beginners, okay? How can you achieve, of course you get better with practice, but how can you achieve that look? And then the second most valuable piece of advice, and I've repeated this to myself and to others as appropriate. So the kit came with the book, piece of fabric, and some DMC thread. We were all highly encouraged to do what was basically the first design in the book. Is that what this bookmark is at? Let's see. There's all this instruction ahead of time, but this project right there. And the teacher said, all right, you all got to keep in mind what's in your hands right now. Some DMC floss and some white fabric that I went down the road and bought at Joann's. Basic white cotton fabric. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. You know what happens if you feel like you messed up? You could do it again. Or you could just use a different piece of fabric. Or you could pull it out. You have not committed a lifetime to a little flower with 6 colors of DMC in it. And it just felt like opening to me. That idea that because of the materials were very basic, because the time I was committing to it, 2-hour class, it was okay. It's okay to give it a try. Would I try something new with, something that is 20 inches by 20 inches and uses all silk thread and blah, blah, okay? No, okay? You have to be committed if you want something large and expensive materials. So here's the little flower I made at that class. I probably didn't finish it during class, but I loved the way the instructions were in here. So if you are intrigued, especially if you've always been a counted fabric person, you've always stitched on Aida, linen, whatever, but you're kind of wondering what else is out there, I repeat, simple materials, white cotton fabric that you can buy at whatever Joann's or whatever fabric store, and DMC thread. And Trish Burr's books, she's from South Africa. I'm about to show you another one of her books, but everything is DMC embroidery, or if it isn't, she has it all. This book is all DMC, so keep that in mind. Not that many years ago, she came out with another book. I have others of hers, but this one I just loved, and it was flowers. It came as this whole little portfolio thing. The Q Book of Embroidered Flowers. And I probably saw a review of this online or something, and I thought, it doesn't matter that I have a whole book of other needle painting designs that I hadn't done. This intrigued me. And what also intrigued me, it came with iron-on transfers. So I didn't have to trace a design and then always have the issue of, am I going to cover up my lines, or do I need to get one of those erasable, washable things? This, you could just iron it on. And so I did a piece from here. And I know I've shown this before. And again, Trish Burr, excellent instructions, sort of step by step. Here, do this, then do this. Now, here's, she breaks up the diagram. Here's what you do this, do this. The beginner book, the pieces are broken up even more. But I love this. And I know that I've put like little bookmarks in this book and in other books of when I get a chance to go back, what am I going to do? Maybe this one, maybe that one. And that's what I was discovering this morning as I was pulling books left and right off my shelf to share with you with my little list. Almost every one of them has a little bookmark, little pieces of paper here and there. And almost every one of those pages are marking something that I knew I would love to do at some point. And I just haven't. And again, my world is very focused on cross stitch, and I have no problem with that. Like everyone else, I just want more time in the day, and I don't want responsibilities of food shopping and cleaning and all of that stuff. So there's a little bit about needle painting. Sometimes I think I've already used the words more, interchange the words. Needle painting, silk thread embroidery. I don't know exactly what's considered the correct word. Trish Burr uses needle painting, and it's her books that I've most loved. So I'm going with needle painting. It's, how do you achieve the color to make it look fairly decent? In this case, look at her instructions. So again, the valuable lesson of give something new a try, especially if you're not committing a lot of money, even time to it. And it's okay to mess up. That's as I say to my students, I'm a teacher in my other life. It's okay to make mistakes. We all, humans, we all make mistakes. The teacher makes mistakes. And it's all about what are you going to do when you realize you have a mistake? How are you going to handle it? So needle painting was one thing I wanted to talk about. The next thing is stump work. And I thought I had, no, I don't. That's okay. Stump work is, it can be, and you'll see right here, combined with other techniques. But stump work is when you're doing something basically three-dimensional, and you use wire to make that happen. So here's a piece. This was actually also from that one time I went to Nordic Needle. This shiny thread is a rayon thread, and it's about Brazilian embroidery. I have a book, a couple things. Of the things I'm sharing with you are all types of needlework that I know I would love to come back to someday. Do another project, do something. Am I excited to do a Brazilian embroidery project again? Probably not. But there's also, and I'm going to hold it like this so you can see, this butterfly, or dragonfly, I guess it's a dragonfly, is done in what's called stump work. So picture a little piece of fabric. There was a little bit of like multicolored thread that was embroidered on it. There's a wire that you use a buttonhole stitch, and then you cut it out from that piece of fabric and you attach it. So this was the piece, this was a stump work piece that I enjoyed, and I loved the idea of it. As I was digging through other things, I found something that I'd totally forgotten about. So actually years before the Nordic, I don't know how many years before the Nordic Needle, but I was at when there used to be these old shows that were like cats, creative arts, textile show. I may not be saying, remember, anyway, there were these shows, there'd be classes going on and a big vending room. And there's a few times I've gone to that over the years, particularly when it was like 2 or 3 hours away. There was one of them nearby and so on. I know I bought this kit in one of the big vending halls because they had a model of it. I just thought it was amazing. And it is a rose. It is a stump work 3-dimensional rose. And I just thought that was amazing. Could I possibly create it? And when I saw this box of it this morning, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. And I could even, before I even looked at it, I could remember the issue that happened. I started stitching all the parts of it. So like here's, and this shows you the wire thing as well. So here on this little piece of what I now know to be silk gauze is see the big leaf in the picture? And then the little, whatever you call those things that are leading into the flower part. Okay, so cool. These will need to be, and you see the wire. So I would have a piece of fabric, like it's actually a linen fabric, that I will then be like poking these wires through and making them, attaching them in some way on the back so that they don't like fall back out, and that way I can kind of like sculpt this. But I remembered why I lost my interest in it is that I stitched the petals. I may or may not have got. I stitched 5 petals. Maybe it was 5 petals. And I just didn't like the way they looked. And again, much early on, I look at it now and I know what it is that I didn't really quite know the technique of how to do what's called long and short stitch. And the best I could do from sort of like this hand-drawn picture, this is before I had like quite the library of things, or even to understand what, when it just said, fill in the petal with long and short satin stitch. I didn't have any pictures or models of what actually to do with that. And I look at it and I remember thinking this can't be right. This just looks all chunky. It just looks like that. But when I took it out, I'm like, you know what? Why not just assemble it? If I do the curving of the petals, and I'm not even sure if there's more than 5, that curvy, maybe it'll kind of hide or not focus on the fact that these are not very blended long and short stitches by any means. I should just do that. I should finish it and have the 3-dimensional thing, because I think I did all the stitching. Here's the piece of fabric. It is just a linen fabric that, I got this attached to me, that you need to poke the wires through. Oh, there's going to be something, there must be something to, that's probably just stitched right on the fabric, the stem. Tell me to do this, people. Tell me to do this so that the next time we have a Flosstube together, I will be able to show you my rows. I should. There's just, from what I said, I even looked at it and I was like, should I just restitch it? And I could. I mean, I would need the wire because I don't have extra wire, but I think it would be not unreasonable to try and pull this out. But then I thought, no, I don't know. Never say never. But I think, so 2 of the tasks that I've come up in preparing for this video is, number 1, I need to do on the back of the A&G ribbons to write down what piece I got them from. And number 2, finish this rose. Oh, that's right. I had an email with her because something, 2006. I'm pretty sure I had worked on it fairly soon after this event. So fall of 2006. And it's still waiting to be finished. All right, tell me, Arlene, finish it. You must finish it. I'll keep you posted. The next category on my list, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to title this something like First Smorgasbord, because even my list of miscellaneous, there were too many on the list of miscellaneous, so I thought, of my needlework gloves, so I thought, let me just see how long time goes for today. I don't want to make this overly long, and I can do some more next time. So I wanted to talk about gold work. Gold work, I mean, in some ways it's like a catch-all category. It usually involves a lot of gold. It involves different types of stitches, but each of the stitches involves different things, different materials. The color that comes into play is often silk thread, so there'd be like a shininess to it. There is different, like right there, you can see, right, that looks like it's like a piece of leather almost. There's some like lattice work things. Look at the gold, like it almost looks like beads around the outlines. Gold work is got a whole lot going on with it. I have a little kit that I bought like, and it's not, the materials are not cheap, okay? But I bought it, had very clear instructions. I have not yet done that. That is definitely on the list of, because it's a self-contained thing. I want to do this. Here's the issue, and I learned this, well, let me keep going here. So I did have an opportunity once to take a class, and it was through a local EGA group, and it was, do I have the name here? Don't, unfortunately. I would, if I saw, she's a teacher who, Margaret Kinsey. think. And I've always been intrigued with gold work, and it was gold work with silk. And I'm so glad I did this. It was like 2 days, like a Saturday and a Sunday for, I don't know, 5 or so hours each day. And I did finish the piece, not during that time. And so it's the color you see, the pink, is obviously you could see those are just, pink silk thread. But there's also like a whole lot of things going on here. I mean, there's beads there. There's like, what is this gold thing going on the stem? What's up there? So as I was I was not particularly looking for this, but as I was taking out some other things, I'm like, wow, look at this. I found the leftovers of the kit that this came with. And I remember when she handed out kits, and again, it's not cheap DMC floss prices, okay? But I remember them all coming, or a number of the gold things coming in these plastic cases. And I thought, well, that just seems like a big, wasteful, expensive thing. Well, it's so that the gold doesn't tarnish. So obviously things like this metallic thread doesn't need to be in a special case. But these 3 or 4 items, like this right here. So this is Gilt Bright Check Pearl. So this pearl thing is like almost like slinky. Like a spirally slinky thing, like a gold necklace or something. And this little piece, just to show you, because I can remember it, this here, on my lap, if you look at the stem, you cut little pieces. And then I'm pretty sure I was using a thread. It goes through the center, attach it through that. So you can't, this is way too thick to put through the fabric. So you're just cutting these little pieces. And even like up here, there's a lot of little cutting things. And this was the thing. I remember coming home that Saturday night. There was no like required homework. She said, if you could get to such and such point, that'd be great, but you don't need to for Sunday. And I wanted to work on it that night. And it was not something that I could work on in my regular way, meaning sitting in front of the television where I'd glance up at the TV or more listen to it. It took different kind of concentration. It took, frankly, like a table for me to work on. And I guess, some of that is a little bit about my things when it comes to some of these other needlework loves, is that sometimes they just don't make for good sit in front of the television and stitch projects. They need more of a focus or more of a different kind of space. That doesn't mean I don't want to do them. It means I need to find more time and space in the day to be working in different places. So like I said, I did this class. I have that kit that is very much all gold. I don't think there's any color that is brought into it. And again, here's there's beads, there's other threads that were left in here. But I remember these containers and in effect asking, and it had to do with making sure the gold doesn't tarnish. It needed to be kept in these things. There was one other time I did a little exploring with gold work, and I forget, let me show this. This is a book where I would love to do some of the things in here, particularly this thing on the front cover. Stump work and gold work embroidery. Like, oh my gosh, that just is so beautiful. It includes so much. It would be the kind of project that if there was a kit to be bought, like so that I can get all the items in one place. And I think, this is Jane Nicholas. Is she in Australia? I think, at least at that time, there were kits, or is she in the UK? But Australia. No. This book is, printed in Australia. I think I could buy the kit, be incredibly expensive, particularly for shipping. I'd have to be really committed that I'm going to be doing it. And, I'd like to say that if I ever decide to purchase it, I would absolutely be doing it. But anyway, there's beautiful projects in here. One of the things, and I can't remember exactly what got me going forward with it, with gold work. Sorry, I don't know how well you can hear me when I bend down like that. And I'm just going to, you can see all kinds of stuff. I've found 4 or 5 books that I have. And I'm looking for, here we go. Right there. There we go. I believe that's pronounced Ornue. And I see it's capitalized, even in the middle of the sentence, so I'm not sure why that is, but I means something gold, Ornue. Nuet, I'm pretty sure, is gold. Um, and there's something, and I remember reading, it's a very time consuming technique. Why am I not getting, there we go. And I was like, what's actually going on there? So I read a little bit about it and realized what was going on is picture gold thread being laid down in horizontal lines, being couched over, and where you wanted a design showing, you couch it over with a colored thread, and where you didn't want the design showing, you just used, yellow or something that would basically blend right in with the gold threads. And I thought, well, I don't need to get with fancy materials to give this a try. And so I did this. And I remember it's like some little freebie cross stitch pattern. So everywhere there was a box, to make an X, I knew I was putting a wrapping of either purple or green. And the gold thread I used, I want to say, was just like a Krynic, like nothing fancy, something that I was familiar with my other needlework stuff. So it was probably a Krynic that I thought, oh, this is shiny, this will work. And yes, I remember it being time consuming, but I thought this is a pretty cool like effect that shows up. And I think I had it on display somewhere because when I found it in the container, a type of goldwork called or Nuet. So I must have, again, it must have been maybe on some like display table. And I just wanted to share, this is another kind of stitching that's out there. Just an example of one type of goldwork. Okay, I think I've been talking enough today. I hope that you've enjoyed seeing some different kinds of things. Again, I know there's so many Flosstube channels out there, and there's plenty of cross stitch to be seen. But if you're still with me at this point, it must mean you're interested in some of this other stuff. I have always encouraged people to give different things a try. Sometimes it just isn't for you, but sometimes you discover something that you just never know you would like. So if I had more time to be focusing on stitching, yes, I'd be doing more needle painting, I'd be doing stump work, I'd be doing gold work, and a bunch of other things. But now like sitting here right now, I'm feeling inspired to, again, I think the focus needs to be that rose. I think I just need to do it. And see what it looks like with the, to me, funny looking pink, not very long short stitches. Anyway, more things to share next time. I will, because there's more on this list. I'm like, yeah, this is long enough. Thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Appreciate the likes and the comments and all of that as well. Again, we have this wonderful community, and I feel so lucky to be a part of it. Till next time, bye.